Today we are shooting with the Tamron 50-400 f4.5 to 6.3 lens.
Yeah, it's Tamron's answer to Nikon Z 100-400 lens at a lower price. So we're gonna take some pictures.
Yep, for a change.
Yeah, bye.
Very impressed with how much I could see through the viewfinder. It's not super sharp, but how much I can see just by zooming in that much.
Overall build quality feels very similar to all other Tamron lenses, the Pro glass, the 2.8 glass. So we had 35-150 lens reviewed, so that basically feels exactly the same. You've got autofocus, manual focus buttons here. You've got custom buttons which you can program with the Tamron software that you can download online. You've got a lock button here, so the zoom doesn't extend when you're carrying it. And it's got a USB port. Again, assume it's weather sealed for firmware updates. You can buy a plastic cup and shove it in there.
Yes, you can.
In terms of zoom, obviously this is not internal zoom, so it extends itself. That's normal for this type of lens. So overall, I'm satisfied. It feels very similar to all other professional Tamron lenses. 50-400 lens. There are two Nikon lenses that kind of compete with this particular lens. There's 28-400 and there's 100-400 lens. So let's start with 28-400. Obviously 28-400 is all-round lens, covers anything from 28 to 400. So this one goes from 50 to 400, not as wide angle as the other one, but still a good range to work with. Now 28-400 on a longer end is f8 lens, while this lens is 6.3. So if you need that extra bit of light, this lens could be a better choice. Now in terms of weight though, the 28-400 lens is only 725 grams, while this one is almost 1200 grams. So big difference there. I would say if you look more at kind of all-round portability and the 6.3 doesn't really matter, so you're happy to shoot at a f8 on longer end, then probably 28-400 is a better choice. Now another Nikon lens that competes with this is the Z 100-400 lens. Now at 400mm it's 5.6, while this one is 6.3. Again, keep that in mind. The weight-wise though, this one again is at 1200 grams and 100-400 lens is 1435 grams. So there's 235 grams difference. Will it make a difference to you in terms of carrying it? That's entirely up to you. I would recommend you to try it, but there's several things there. So 100-400 lens is more expensive, but it takes silicon converters. So with that particular lens, you can push it basically to what, 800mm with 2x silicon converter if you want to. Obviously that will become f11 effectively with 2 stops down. With this one you can't, unfortunately. So there's always pros and cons, and I would suggest you just to kind of make a list of all of those things and decide for yourself.
The autofocus is nice and fast actually. I was expecting it to be noticeably slower than some of the other telephoto lenses that we've used, but it doesn't particularly feel slow. I don't feel it dragging. I don't feel like it has any issues with keeping up with most subjects. We switched it over to video and we have done some video work with it. Settings on camera are essential when doing that, so that you make sure you're using the right autofocus settings for your video. Originally, I didn't have it set up for moving birds, but now we've handled that, and since then it's been fairly fast, which is good. Haven't noticed it slowing down at all. It is always tricky taking pictures of anything in motion because you've got that combination of trying to predict where it's going to go, framing and making sure that you got framing, making sure all your settings are correct, so your shutter speed, your aperture, your ISO hasn't gone sky high. And on an overcast day like this, that just adds to the challenge really. But thus far I've been really impressed with it. All right, let's take a quick look at the image quality. So it is sharp. I won't deny that it's sharper at the closer end than at the longer end. I do find that to be the case with a lot of lenses that have so much range. So at the 400 end, it isn't as sharp. with distant objects as it is with much closer subjects or at the shorter zoom ranges. I'd say anywhere pretty much up to 300 probably won't notice. 400, we are really testing it to its limits. So we're shooting subjects which are meters and meters away and then trying to look at fine detail. So I'd say it's not as sharp as maybe some of its more expensive counterparts, but I think we can probably manage with that based on the price point and the target audience. If you know what to expect, then it won't be a problem.
But what about vignetting and sharpness? And
yes.
Has it got bokeh as well?
It does have bokeh, actually.
Yeah, does it come with a bokeh in the box?
It comes with bokeh in the box, just a sprinkling of bokeh. The bokeh was quite nice. In the few opportunities when it wasn't raining, where I had the chance to test it, it was actually fairly pleasing. Nice rounded bokeh, which I wasn't totally expecting. And if your subject is close enough, then really good separation there. So that's quite lovely. In terms of vignetting, at 4.5, you get a little bit of vignetting, but it is so slight that, to be honest, I didn't particularly notice it. And you can probably get rid of it in post if you want to, but as you know, I like a bit of vignette.
Just get rid of it.
It disappears by sort of 5.6, 6.3, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. And that was me shooting at the 50 end. It's probably going to be even less noticeable at the 400 end.
Nice.
Now I'm going to get my umbrella out.
Yeah.
Obviously, I found some flowers, very important, everywhere I go. The closest focusing distance on this lens at the 400 end is 1.5 meters, which means that at 400mm, at that zoom, I can actually take a picture of that white flower just there with the bee snoozing on it, which is amazing. And then at the 50mm end, you're looking at a 25 centimeter close focusing distance. So if you do want to do close-ups, like me, you can.
Okay, Becky, so who is this lens for?
Well, considering that the price is about £1,249 and the Nikon alternatives are more expensive, I would honestly say that this is a great alternative if you don't want to spend a bit more, if you don't want to stretch to, for example, the 100 to 400. This is a nice solution, and the fact that it does an extra 50mm at the wide end makes it super versatile. You can use it for all kinds of things. I did a little bit of landscape with it. I did birds in flight, obviously, and bird photography. Also some close-ups of flowers, of course, but it is incredibly versatile as a focal length. So I think if that's kind of what you need in your range next, and you don't have, let's say, £1,800, £2,000 to spend on that, then this is a really good secondary option. Particularly if your main lens is something like a 24-70, then you've got this to fill the gap and take you even longer.
Exactly. The build quality is good, the image quality is fantastic, the price is very attractive. So overall, it's quite a compelling package.
Thank you very much for watching. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you're on YouTube. We'd hugely appreciate it. Honestly, we really do appreciate the fact that you made it this far.
Yeah, and there's a super thanks button as well, and that's a nice way to support this channel. Because who else is going to support it? We don't even support it with our videos.